Hello, and welcome to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast, where we explore how technology, AI, and cybersecurity are reshaping the way we work. This segment of our tour, we are back at it again, live in London, interviewing top IT leaders. Each episode, we're going to bring you insights from real leaders and industry experts on how organizations can navigate today's challenges and unlock tomorrow's opportunities. From making sense of complex data, to simplifying IT environments, to delivering real business outcomes, Lenovo is helping businesses of every size reimagine what's possible. Join us as we dive into the future of work. Work Reborn. Let's go. Hello, welcome to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast. We are live in London. I'm here with my new friend, Christy. Christy, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Rita?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for coming by the booth. So for anyone who's listening and, would like to know more about you, would you like telling the listeners or the audience about who you are, what you do, your role a little bit?
Sure. I have a really fascinating job in analyst relations. So my job is talking to analysts at Gartner and Forrester and IDC, and also influencers who cover the space to understand how technology is moving and changing and how use cases are evolving in the space. I work for a data security company, and I've spent maybe about 15 years in the security space.
Wow. How did you get into this field of work? Is this something you always wanted to do? Or?
Completely by accident.
Yeah.
I was a double major in English and philosophy. And so I wound up doing education, like corporate education, right out of the gate. And then I started doing program management for systems integrations during mergers and acquisitions. I did that for about 12 years at AT&T.
Wow.
Singular Wireless, if you know.
I remember Singular, yeah.
The little orange guy?
Yes.
I went through all of that in the early 2000s, and I did a little bit of product management after that. And then I found myself at a startup in the data security space. They hired me to do systems and processes and things that I already had in my wheelhouse. And then one day, like it happens in a startup, they pulled me into a room and said, "We fired everybody but these 6.
Oh.
We're going to have them report to you, and we're going to put you in charge of marketing." And I went, "That's hilarious," because I have never worked in marketing ever.
You're like, data? Okay. Marketing? What?
I didn't know anything about our product.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know very much about marketing either. I had a website, and I had a research seat with Gartner and a research seat with Forrester. And so I took home 2 stacks of research every weekend. One on encryption and one on how to be a marketer.
Wow.
And I read one when I got bored of the other. And I discovered that I really enjoyed analyst relations because I liked reading research. I had to read it in order to learn, in order to grow. And I started developing relationships with different individuals in the research space because analysts cover every topic, every business process, and every tool. This is a Gartner security conference, and so these are the analysts who cover security, but I talk to analysts across every facet of the business. If somebody's trying to make a decision to be more, to be more efficient, to be more effective, then I can source research and interesting conversations.
I'm so glad you stopped by the booth because one of our big focuses with this podcast is some of the research we recently conducted. So we interviewed over 600 senior IT leaders, and it's not just one report. Like we've done a sequence based on different themes and topics. So, the first one was like employee experience, and then the other one is what's going on with AI, and now we're focusing on cybersecurity, and we're basically trying to pull together thought leaders within the space to understand what is it that is top of mind for leaders right now? What are organizations struggling with? And, what are some ways that we can help each other to move forward or be aware of what's going on? Because I think the awareness is key. And as an analyst or researcher for yourself, I'm sure that it's really interesting to see what people are saying. And for me, I feel like I've kind of somehow ended up kind of wanting to be more understanding of the industry as well too, just by learning about the research and talking to people. So the relations side of what you do is really important. Tell me about that side of it. So you have the research, you're conducting it. What makes the next part so unique and different to your role?
Well, I'm a little bit of a snowflake in the analyst relations world because of how I got into it. I wound up getting really deep into the technology because it was a small team and I had to just learn about the technology really fast. And so for me, like I like to deliver my own demos, which is really rare. So I learn how the technology functions, and that allows me to have personal conversations with the analysts and speak to them on their level rather than just bringing in somebody from my podcast team
Right.
or podcast because we're on one.
Yeah.
Bringing in somebody from my product team to
Yeah.
have that kind of a conversation. I like to be able to have conversations like that on my own.
Yeah.
And that, that helps build a deeper relationship. I go to this conference when it's held in National Harbor, and then I'm here in London. Some of the sessions are the same. The keynote is very similar. There are themes that go across an entire year. And so for me, I'm looking for the nuance. I'm looking for how the lines of thinking are evolving, because in between these two conferences, June and September, like new research has come out, new surveys have come out. They've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of more practitioners. So, like, what does that mean about evolving use cases? And that to me is really fascinating. So, my job is a lot of having conversations with people, two-way conversations, which are called inquiries, and then briefings, which are a one-way presentation to the analyst community that showcases what my particular company does so that they get a better understanding of who we are and what we can do and what problems we can solve. And then I have another conversation after that, which is like, how did that land? What does the language sound like for practitioners? Is this hitting the mark? Is there something that's missing from here? So I'm always learning.
I love that.
It's like the best job.
It's like it
It's
sounds
like
so
the best
exciting. Like
job.
I'm just like thinking about it. It's like investigative in a way, but it's also
Yeah.
like it's like detective for technology in a sense. I don't know, but like in the coolest way possible. I do want to dive into what you said though, which is in between one event and another, in between the lines of the research and the data. That's where some of the gold sometimes can lie.
Yeah.
To understand like what's really going on in the industry. So right now, what we're hearing on our end from the leaders that we've interviewed is that they are interested in implementing AI in the workplace, but there is hesitancy of AI within the cybersecurity lens of it all, right? So, what are you seeing and from your research right now that is most highlighted with this specific topic? Like, what are organizations feeling about AI and cybersecurity and what?
AI drink.
Yes,
That is the analyst. It used to be every time somebody said AI, you would drink, and now the word is agentic.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I need a mug now too, because I was joking about the amount of times we've said AI off camera. But yeah.
Well, so like just unofficial poll of me like meeting new people at this conference and talking to people. What are you here to learn? Why are you here?
Yeah.
And the number one question, so like, I don't know, last conference or maybe even last year, people would say, "Oh, I don't want to hear about AI," and every single person to me this time has said AI. And then my question is like, okay, well, what about AI? Are you interested in trying to protect from it? Are you interested in trying to use it yourselves? Are you? And their answer is yes. And
It's just yes to all of
It's just
it.
yes.
Yeah.
The challenge though is like where to get started.
Right.
And that
we've seen that too in our research. It's like they're interested in the concept of integrating that into their workplace, but there's a barrier to entry because there's also so many like tools and use cases for it too.
Yeah, well, and the best guidance I can give on that is find a really constrained use case. Find something that's as narrow as possible. Find something that you can be really prescriptive about what the risks are and what the rewards are. So 2 years ago, I actually gave a speaking session at this particular conference, and it was on the intersection of trust models and artificial intelligence. So I brought together information from philosophy and sociology and technology and even security, because there's a trust model. The CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, is a trust model of how trust is established. And I looked at human models and digital models of trust. What was different and common, like the differences and the similarities and the similarities and the differences about that. And I looked to share with the audience, like, what kinds of questions could you be asking to shape that starting use case?
Yes.
And then what I've been discovering on my own, the more I've started using AI personally, is it's not enough to just discover the use case. I have to get down to the task level. Exactly which task am I using AI for within this? Like, I started at Cyera in June, the week before the Gartner show in National Harbor. And so for me, starting a new job, so much information that I have to learn. AI is a really great tool to summarize a lot of that and get started. And I could just like dive in and have AI summarize all of my interactions and all of my engagements. But for me, the process of me synthesizing the insights from those engagements is it's how I learn. And so I had to be really selective about which tasks that I was selecting AI to do within a given use case. Like, how do I share insights after I have an inquiry with an analyst or a conference like this? When I come back from the conference of this, I'm going to be sharing my insights of what I learned from all of the conversations that I'm having.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be using AI selectively for different parts of that task rather than for everything, because there's certain parts that are going to benefit me from doing by hand.
What have you learned so far? And like, I know that's a very loaded question, but let me specify. What have you learned so far that has surprised you?
Well, I will say that I was a little surprised that people are not yet coming in with maybe more use case driven ideas or approaches to how to get started with AI. So I will say that. I mean, there have been like smaller things, like as far as like some of the more useful sessions that I've attended. I have a tendency right now in a lot of what I'm doing to think about AI in like three different types of buckets. So external AI, like the chat GPTs of the world, where the risks might be third-party exposure of information, right? I take something that's internal proprietary to my company and I've uploaded it to this free third-party tool, and now it's training the whole data set on maybe intellectual property. Embedded AI, which are things like Microsoft Copilot or Salesforce, which is just becoming pervasive, right? You have a tool and maybe you've been using it and now all of a sudden like Zoom has an AI agent, right? It's embedded in a product that you're already consuming. And then the custom AI, the homegrown ones. Like, I'm going to build, when I get back from this conference, I'm actually in the process of building my own AI against my insights that I generate.
Amazing.
So I'm going to be building my own AI tool as a part of my job when I get back from this conference. And one of the sessions, Jeremy Dwin was talking about a few even more specific types of agents and the ways in which those agents either make decisions, like whether they're just like an agentic system that is just bringing together information, whether it's one that's achieving specific goals, or whether that's more like a multi-agent mesh, much more complex architecture. And so I really appreciated getting into some nuance of like where the world is heading, because one of the fascinating things about my job, the question that I get asked a lot when I'm submitting for an evaluation is, where does Cyera see your market, your space in the next 5 to 7 years? And that is with the rate of change right now, it's a stupendous question to try to answer.
I know. I was going to ask you that actually. So, but I know that's a hard question because from what I'm hearing from people, we haven't reached a maturity level of some of these programs yet to like fully know. And it's kind of like a Wild West. It's the Wild West of this era. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, change is relentless. It's always going to be something new. I will say that there are a couple of things that I feel pretty confident about, and I've had a few forward-leaning conversations at this conference so far. One of them is around what I talk about as data democratization. So, like, I'm about to build my own agent, and I sit in marketing. My role technically sits in marketing, but the business users all across the business are going to be creating their own agents and using their own data to be more effective and efficient at what they do, even if they weren't engineers or coders or being able to like query a database. Right back in the day, I would work with business objects teams, and I had ETL, extract, transform, load types of processes, and now that no, that's so archaic,
Right.
and I think that if I look out like 3 to 5 years, I think 3 years may even be too far out.
I think even 2 years, I feel like.
I
Maybe.
think that people are going to be all across the business working with their data in that way and using natural language interfaces in order to get analytics. So like I see a business user as being able to use a natural language query into like an MCP or some A to A architecture where they're able to get information back like, where does my sensitive data live? How do I remediate the risks that I find on that? What insights can I derive from this? And rather than going through a lot of these very structured processes of looking at an analytic report, for example. So I think that like that's a trend that I could see. And then I had a great conversation with Craig Porter, another Gartner analyst, yesterday about crypto agility. And maybe that's just because I spent a lot of time in the encryption space. But if you think about quantum computing and the fact that a quantum computer is going to be able to break encryption algorithms, I think that like AI, that's something that's been coming really slowly and then overnight it's going to be there. And so some people deprioritize encrypted data, and for good reasons. They deprioritize it, but there are bad actors out there that are harvesting that information, even if it's encrypted today, so they can decrypt it later when once quantum computing comes around. And the process of being able to find where encryption algorithms are embedded across every part of the digital infrastructure and trying to change those out with more resilient types of encryption models is going to be very challenging because of the way that that is embedded in architectures.
Do you think organizations are really ready for all of this? Because they say they are, but like, are they really? Like, what are, like, between AI fighting AI and quantum computing and like all these things that like, I don't even know, sounded like a movie from forever ago, and like here we are, you know what I mean? Like, what would you say to leaders that like say, oh yeah, we got this, we're ready, but like,
Oh, I don't know any leader who says that.
Yeah,
I really,
yeah,
I mean, I really don't.
what are you hearing? They're like, we're not ready for this, basically.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, like I had one person challenge me recently that like crypto agility, like quantum computing, is it really real? Is it really going to happen? And I started looking at inquiry trends because I can get information based on research about like what types of topics are coming up in conversations. And I look across multiple firms, and more than 63%, there's been a more than 63% jump in inquiries about crypto agility, like just in the last year. Less than I think probably since RSA, which was in San Francisco in April?
Yeah.
End of April?
Wow. Christy, we're going to have you back on the show because what I would love to do is get like a state of the union of like what's going on right now. Give me like your just quick hot take on like key things that organizations like should be aware of as far as advancements within the cybersecurity space. Like these are like the 3 things that should be top of mind that you should at least learn about or be looking forward to learning about.
Well, so because I spent 7.5 years in the data security space, and then most recently I was in application security, and now I'm back in data security. A lot of the challenges that I saw in the data security realm a number of years ago, like we had built a massively scalable key management system, like one key per word in a Word document, not like one key per all of your data stores. People were like, your encryption breaks things, but I would really love your attribute-based access controls, granular authorization to information. And that link between data and identity was so key. That's definitely an area of convergence that I see. And at the time, the company that I was working for didn't really have, like, people got very excited. External authorization management, they got thrilled about this as a possibility. And then they realized, I have no idea where my data is, and I have no idea how to protect it. Or I have no idea where it is, and I have no idea what it is.
Okay.
Let's just start with discovery and classification, right? And so we would partner with firms at that time, but the discovery and classification process, even like a decade ago, was taking, and even today, there are vendors out there where it takes months, if not years, to discover and classify data. And that's just not the speed that people need to move right now. And the company that I joined, they are able to do it in we're able to provide results back in the first couple of hours, and it's by layering different types of capabilities. And there's lots of other types of tools that have never really, or I would say maybe processes that have never really worked that well because of the number of false positives, because of the challenges around it. The technology underneath a lot of that has changed. And so when I'm able to show somebody a demo of Cyera and go, can you really like grasp the fact that it's about how much we're able to discover and find? Classification isn't what you thought that it was. Data loss prevention, not what you thought it was. And so that to me, it's like taking things that people have known and looking at it with a new lens because of the way the underlying technology has changed. So I would say that like something that I might say is, what was the phrase my grandmother would say? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because you had a bad DLP experience, don't assume that like it always has to be that way. Like there are ways that you can change how to go about that. I think that's probably the biggest one.
And I would say that overall, I agree with that. With a lot of the innovations that we are talking about, just because you tried AI once and it was bad doesn't mean now it's still bad. Just because you're trying to implement it into your security system, fighting AI with AI, and you tried it once and it like kind of sucked, it doesn't mean it's going to be bad forever. I know that's like not the most professional way to say it, but I love what you're affirming, which is like being open to trying new things, and also being aware that like the speed is just the standards for the speed at which these things need to happen is accelerated, right?
If you can't discover or classify your data, no other use case up on top of that is going to work well. You privacy use cases, compliance use cases, AI use cases.
Well, thank you so much, Christy, for hopping on this podcast with me today. I really appreciated your expert insights and everything that you shared. If anyone is interested in learning more about some of the research we've conducted here at Lenovo about some of these topics, make sure you check out the Work Reborn report. You can download the report via the QR code on the screen by scanning it somewhere over here. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check out the show notes and tap the link below. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you so much, Rita.
Thank you for listening to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast. To learn more about how Lenovo is helping organizations transform with AI, cybersecurity, and smarter IT solutions, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure to leave a comment with any other questions that you would like us to discuss on our next episodes. See you next time.
Lenovo.